Welcome to the eSERS training online version. My name's Nikki, and I'm just going to start things off today, just explaining how the webinar will work, and then I'm going to be turning it over to Marilyn Logston on our employer outreach team, and Marilyn's going to be doing the presentation. And then we also have Katie Talbert from Employer Outreach. She's going to be helping man the questions.
Good morning, everyone. This is Marilyn with the Employer Outreach Service, and this is my first eSERS training webinar. So this is high level, going to be going over, giving you a lot of information very quickly. I know that I have a lot of seasoned employers out there that just maybe need a refresher on certain items. Probably have a lot of new people out there also. So if I run through something too quickly for you and you would like for me to go back over something later, I can be more than happy to do that for you. Do not ever hesitate to call in and talk to one of us if you need some additional help. That's what we're here for. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm already logged in. So when you get logged in on your side, excuse me, this is what you're going to see first, is your home screen. And a little bit about this home screen here is over to the left here is all the roles that have been assigned to you when you were registered into eSERS. So when your EWA registered you, they may have only gave you maybe 4 or 5 rows. So that would be all you would be seeing. So this is if you ever need something else assigned to you, that's when you would get with your EWA and say, hey, I'd like to see this screen. And they'll probably go in and give that row to you. So the next thing is on our home screen here is the first 5 most recent messages. These are messages that you're going to get into eSERS letting you know that something needs to be done if you have an action required. Some messages are informational. Now, I know with speaking with some of you that, these just build up and build up. So you may have, I have, 4 messages here. You may have 3 or 4 pages of messages. So you can click on View All Messages, and that will bring up every message that you have. If you have not deleted any, then you're going to have a lot of them. You can sort those messages. If you come up here to the drop down, right now it's on All. But from the drop down, you can choose what messages you would like to see, whether they be action required, meaning that you have to go in and do something, or just a correspondence, or an informational. So I'm going to click on my action required, and then I'm going to click filter. And you can also do by all. You can do read or unread messages. So we'll go to the unread. Now I only have my action required messages. So some of these may be pretty old. So in order to get rid of a message, you're going to click onto it and read it, and then mark it for deletion. And then you'll need to go back to your messages in order to see the rest of them again. Okay, so in the future, and I don't know just when in the future, but we do have a work request into our IT to add some buttons over here to the side and at the top to where you can delete a full page at one time. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but that will make it a lot easier for you than having to go do one message at a time. Click back on home. Okay, another thing about this home screen, is the employer information. Just let you know that what district is logged in, which is going to be you. This might be helpful if there was a contractor out there. They know which contractor was in. If they did one of those management companies that does more than one contractor, they can see where they're at. Who the primary contact is for the district. Okay, this here next category is the 5 most recent employer reporting files. So this is going to let you know what the 5 most recent are. So in this case, my most recent one was a contribution file, and then I had 4 enrollment files that I put through. So if you come to your home page here and you see a contribution file sit in yellow, sitting in review, then that means that you have to do something with that file before it's going to post into our system. And this next one over here is the next 5 reports due. Now, we were working, this is our test site, so our material is a little outdated. But if you go in here and look at your next 5 reports due, they should be accurate. They should be showing just exactly what you have due coming up. If you have old dates in there on your side, give one of us a call at the office and we'll help you get those cleaned up to where you're seeing just what's due going forward. Okay, so now that we've went over most of everything on this home screen, I have already uploaded my file. Most of you probably already know that how to do that, but for anyone new out there that has not uploaded a file yet, you would go to Upload Contribution Files, and then you would click Browse to find your file from wherever you have it saved at, either over your desktop or in a folder somewhere. And then you would upload your file, and it would go through 3 different processes before it gets into us. It would go from unprocessed to upload to processed. Once your file has processed, then you are going to get one of 2 messages. Back at the message board, you will get that your file has uploaded successfully and posted. If you get that, you're great shape, you're on a roll. You can just go to payment remittance and make payment for that file and you're done. Or the second message that you may get will be the file uploaded successfully with some error records. And in that case, that's where it's going to be in yellow on the front screen. But also, if you don't see that, if you're already sitting in the file and you're just waiting for it to go through to find out if you've got any errors or not, you're going to click on Contribution File Correction and Manual Contribution Entry. And yes, we tried to figure out the longest name possible to give that. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, a little bit about this screen. Up here is your unposted employer reporting headers. This is going to show you where you have a file sitting that has not posted. So we can see that this header status for this file is in review, which means that we have to open this file and take a look at it to see what's wrong with it. Okay, and then we're going to go over some of this a little later. This category down here is your posted employer reporting headers. And this is going to show you every file that you have posted into the system. You've got, if you've been reporting files for a long time, you may have 10 or more pages of files sitting there. You can open up any of these files at any time to see what they were. And so I'm just going to open up this one right here, and it's going to be a test file, so it's not going to show us a whole lot probably. This file here was an OTH0002 file. It was a file uploaded. It was sent on January the 3rd of 2018. At any time you would want to ever export any of these files that you've already done into an Excel spreadsheet, you would just click on the export to Excel, and it's going to come up with a button there to let you know. Well, first of all, before we hit the export to Excel, we have to go down and tell it what we want to see. So right now, everything automatically defaults to review. But what we're going to do is change that to all and click filter, and then it's going to bring up everyone that was in that file. Then what you could do is export that to Excel. It gives you the options of exporting in just what you want to see. And then once you're done with that, you just hit the export to Excel, and then you can print it off from your spreadsheet if you need to look at it for some reason, or maybe you've misplaced your file and you want another hard copy. If you're like me, I'm old school. I like to print stuff. I like to kill those trees, unfortunately. Other people can just go in, scan through stuff, and see it that way. So I'm going to go back to my main screen here, contribution file correction. And if you had a contractor, there are no contractors here, but if you had a contractor or two, over here to the side is where you would be able to see which contractor submitted that file. Okay, and I'm just going to just lightly touch what this copy forward is. Most likely it's not something that you will never use unless you report files for a contractor. And most contractors use this because they are submitting a manual file every pay. So instead of having to go in and type in everything for their people, if they've got 10 or 20 people, that could take some time. So what a contractor can do is choose a file that they last done, and then a new pay date, and then copy that old file over, and it's going to keep all the names and the socials, and it'll have the period end date, big end date end form. All they have to do is put in the contributions and the days and hours and move on to the next person. So now we're going to take a look at our file that's sitting in review status. So to do that, we're going to open that file up with the header ID number. So we're going to click right on that number. And that's going to bring up our file that has the errors and or warnings in it. Okay, so the top part here is the employer reporting header information. And this just lets you know that the reporting source for this file was a file upload. Now you can also do a manual file, and if it was manual, it would say that there. It lets you know which contribution cycle code this file was for. Some districts have 2 or 3 different files they upload, so this is helpful to know which one you have. The date that you sent the file, that it's a contribution file, it's in review, and what the pay date is. And if this file was a contractor file, you would see that sitting here. It would say contractor error mark or Peterman or whatever contractor it was would be sitting there. Over here, this box is the status count. This lets you know how many records you have in this file. Now, in my file, I have 5 total records. You may have 1,500 records sitting there. And then it's going to let you know how many of those records are in review status, meaning you have to fix those records before this file will post. How many of them are valid, which means they're good, there's nothing wrong with them. And if you have any void records, which there are no void records at this time. Next section down is the contribution information section. And this is where you're going to see anyone that's kicked out with an error and a warning and or a warning in this file. Down here below is the validations. This is what you're going to see. This is what's wrong with each one of these, excuse me, all of these. I didn't mean say each one. Does not mean that all of these are wrong with each one. So here, once we click on to Peter Pan, we're going to see just which one of these is wrong with him. And I like cartoon characters, as you can see, so I always give my people cartoon names. So we will go over a couple of these here a little later. For now, we're going to open up the record for Peter Pan and see what's wrong with him. So we're going to do that by clicking on the record ID number for him. Okay, so I'm looking down here. I see that I have an error and a warning. The error is that the service days are invalid. The warning is that the service days cannot be greater than the number of calendar days between the period begin date and the period end date. Now, what that's saying to you is that you are trying to report someone with 54 days, and you're reporting them under a biweekly schedule. In a biweekly schedule, you only have 14 days. So anyone that kicks out with more than 14 days, we need to look at. Now, this to me is telling me, or in you at the district, that this is one of your supplementals. And a supplemental, that's perfectly fine. They can come through on a regular biweekly report. As long as they have the same pay date, there's no problem reporting your supplementals. The thing here is that we're reporting this supplemental with 54 days under a regular contribution, or regular contributions are only going to allow up to those 14 days. So in order to get this to work, we're going to need to change this earnings code to a supplemental earnings code. A supplemental earnings code is going to allow for a lot more days and hours to come through on a report. And just real quick, for some of you that don't understand what these earnings codes might be, we have fact sheets and how-tos out on our website that explain some of this stuff very well. But out on our website, www.ohsers.org, when you click into employers and then scroll down to forms and publications, you're going to see a category for how-tos and a category for fact sheets. Those are very helpful to you. There's a fact sheet on earnings codes. And if you were to print that off, it would show you all the different earnings codes, which are right here, all these different earnings codes, and what each one of them do. For you at the office, the main ones that you're going to be using on a regular basis are going to be the contribution, the regular contribution, an O1, a supplemental, and a stretch pay. Those are going to be your three most common ones. Now, every once in a while, you will have a retro pay. A retro pay earnings code is only used, though, when you have maybe a pay increase, maybe you have an employee that should be making $10.40 an hour, and they are only making 10, so you need to do a retro to put back those earnings to a prior period. And also a grievance pay. We've seen those a few times. Anytime you have a grievance pay, SERS needs to see a copy of that grievance first before you report that. We need to determine whether that contribution should be here or not. And then all the rest of these down below are adjustment codes, which we'll be going over after a while. But for now, I'm going to change this back to my supplemental. And if this was not a supplemental, let's say you got the days, service days are invalid, that just means maybe you forgot to put in any service days and hours. And so you'll need to go in and put in the correct amount of service days and hours and just click save, and it's going to be okay. If by some chance some days and hours happen to come through for this person and they should not have had any, then that is when you're going to use the stretch pay earnings code. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and click save. And if you notice now, my error and my warning have went away, and this is now a valid record. So I am going to now click the previous button up next to my home button, and that's going to take me back to my prior screen. You do not ever want to click this back button up here, because this is your new back button. If you click the back button, and a lot of us did that at the beginning when we first went live with our new system here, it kicks you all the way out, and then you have to get logged back in again. So I'm going to click the previous, and that's going to take me back to my screen that shows me where I have 2 people remaining now that I need to look at. I now have 3 valid and 2 in review. And one thing I did fail to mention, and I know I'm going to forget to mention a couple things, but I did remember this one. I only had just a few people kick out with errors and warnings, so I'm just clicking into each one individually. But if you had a lot of people, what you could do is click right on that word review, fix that person, and then just keep going to the next one. But I'm choosing to do that just a little different today here. So I'm now going to open up the record for Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse has that the hours must be greater than 0 and service days must be greater than 0. But that's a regular contribution. So normally that would just tell me that I have to go enter days and hours for this person, and that's all I need to do. But, it's caught my eye that this person had $70,000 in earnings, and I'm thinking, man, I want that job. So on your end, you're looking at that and you're going, wait a minute, that's severance pay. Mickey's retiring. I paid out his severance pay. That contribution should not even hit this file. How do I get rid of it? Well, you can't do anything from this screen to void someone. So what we're going to do is click previous again to go back to where we can see the 2 people that's kicked out there. And to void someone out of the file, we're going to click in the name beside them, in the blocks beside their name, sorry. And we now have got this updated. Before, all we had is a void up here and a void down here, so nobody was ever sure what void button they were supposed to click. Well, we've got that updated now to void record and void file. If you click the void file, you're going to get rid of your whole file, and you're going to have to start over again. And there are certain circumstances where you do need to get rid of the whole file. Maybe it came through incorrectly, you uploaded you had a couple out there and you uploaded the wrong one. Whatever the situation might be, there are those times where you want to get rid of the whole file. But today, all we want to do is get rid of this one record out of the file. So we're going to click on void record. And when I did that, it brought up all the people that was in my file and let me know over at the side which ones were valid and a review and a void. This shows me that I void this record. This is my test site, so I'm not sure exactly if this comes up when you void someone on your side being newer now. That's something I probably need to check out to see there. But so now I'm going to go ahead and click previous again. I could open it up from in here, but I'm not going to do it that way. I went back a little bit too far. So I'm clicking back on contribution, and I'm going to open up my file it's in review. The only person that I have left now that I need to look at is Bugs Bunny. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Bugs Bunny. And I've got enrollment is required for member for this person. Well, you're sitting there and you're going, well, I know for a fact that I entered an enrollment for this person. So why am I getting this error? So there's an easy way that we can check this out before you go and enter in another enrollment for them. What I'm going to do is copy that Social Security number that was put in for this record. And I'm going to go over to Employer Reporting Detail Lookup. And this is a really great screen that you can look anyone up that you've reported. If you want to see what the last 5 deposits were for this person that you reported, obviously you could go into your side and see that. Or an easy way would be just to click on this screen and then paste the number in and click search. So I put in the social that was from the contribution report that we put through, and I click search. And now all I'm seeing here is the contribution record that I entered in for Bugs Bunny. On your end, you may be, I'm still certain I entered that enrollment. Where could it be? So before, one other nice feature about this is you can take out that social and just let's go ahead and look him up by name. So I'm going to put in last name of Bunny, if I can spell today. And since I may have, if this is a common name, I may have 5 or 6 bunnies in my system. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the first name too. So now I'm going to search again. And it's thinking. There we go. Hey, there's my enrollment. I knew I entered it. So why in the world am I getting my enrollment now when I keyed in the name, but I didn't get it when I keyed in the social? And some of you, it's been around for a while, may already know this or see this, but this is for some of my newer people. If you look, you have the enrollment that was put in as 1, 2, 4, 3, but the contribution record is showing 1, 2, 3, 4. So the next step now on your end is to verify which Social Security number is correct. And if by some chance that your contribution record has the wrong Social Security number, well, that's the easy way. All you have to do is go back to the contribution record, correct the Social Security number in that record, click save, and you're good to go. But we didn't make it that easy for you today. Today, we have the wrong number in the enrollment. So in order to get our contribution record to go through, we're going to have to enter a new enrollment with the correct Social Security number. And then after we do that, there's another step. We're going to require that you send in a copy of the Social Security number, a card rather, or the I-9. And you can fax that into our office. And we have a girl here in our department that's what she does. She will take out the wrong number out of the system and just have the right number connected to this person. So in order to get our contribution record to go through, we have to enter that enrollment. So to enter a manual enrollment, we're going to go to Manual Enrollment Entry. Then we're going to click on New. And then I'm just going to start putting in all the information for my person here. And I'm going to go ahead and type in the city and the state, but just a touch of a shortcut here I wanted to show you. If you going to save yourself a few keystrokes, you can come over here to the zip code and just put in the zip code for this, 43215, and it's going to come up with a little drop down and let you know where that zip code is for. So you could go ahead and click right on Columbus, and it would fill in Columbus, Ohio for you. I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. Got the zip code. Now, these are not required fields. The required fields have a red asterisk beside them. We have to have this information. But if you have the telephone number or the email address, that would be quite helpful for us going forward in the future. We can, send them certain items, or at least have their phone number if we ever need to reach them for some reason down the road. But if you don't have it, it's not required. Then we're going to come down here to the first date of service. That first date of service is very important. It has to be either in the period that you're paying them for or prior to. You cannot put in a future date here that they started. I've heard this a few times from people. The contract will start like on a certain date, but they're not actually going to start paying them for 2 weeks later. Well, our system is not going to take a contribution record for someone that hasn't even started working yet. So it needs to be either within the period you're paying or before. Okay, and then the job classification. If it is not one of these job classifications, then you can just click Other. And this is all you need to do, but I'm going to just tell you real quick that if you were a college or a university entering in somebody and that person was ARP eligible, then you would check mark that also. If you are a district that has a contractor and you have not given them permissions to do their own own reporting, and you need to add somebody in for that contractor, then here is where you would choose who this person works for, which contractor. But as far as entering somebody, this is all the information you need. Now we're going to go ahead and click Save. Okay, now for my purposes, I have a warning that the date of service cannot be more than 6 months in the past. Well, if you have a coach or a supplemental, maybe you only pay them twice a year, and they did actually start, 6 months ago, and you're just paying them now. That would be okay. It's just a warning for you to make sure that you put in the correct date there. So, for a warning, we can suppress that. So right above the gender here, there's a suppress warnings button. So we're going to check mark that suppress warning and click Save. Well, that warning's not going to go away because we are going to be posting this with a warning, and that's not a biggie. It's okay. Right now, we have a submit for posting, and this is rather new. We didn't have this a few months ago. You just posted your record and everything was fine. But now we have a submit for posting. So I'm going to submit my record for posting. And one more thing, if you happen to forget or don't see that submit for posting and just get out of this record, then it's not going to post. It's going to be sitting here in create and correct enrollment files. And when I click on that, I notice that I don't have anything sitting here. My enrollment that I just put through has posted that fast, and they usually do post pretty quickly. Okay, so now that I have my enrollment in and it's posted, I can go back to my contribution file now. Okay, I can open up my file again. go down and click on Bugs Bunny. And I still have the enrollment is required for member. When I enter in a member enrollment and then go back to this record, the two don't automatically connect. So we have to pretty much let the system know that we entered in an enrollment. So all you really need to do is just click Save. And the enrollment went away. I'm going to give you one other scenario real quick to where you may have an enrollment is required for member, but let's say, for instance, that member has recently retired and you're just paying out the balance of their contract, or you're paying them over the next couple periods. Two things there. One would be maybe you have to change the earnings code to a stretch pay and take out the days and hours if they had some, and that would make that work. Or you may need to give us a call, because on our side, when a application comes through for a retirement, our system automatically puts in an end date for that person. So it's as easy as us calling down to that section saying, hey, can you take out that end date? Then you would go back in, hit save, and you would be okay. Okay, so now that I have got this, and as you can see, it's a valid record because I've submitted it for posting, I'm going to click Previous up next to my home. Now, I have a Submit for Posting button now. You never have that Submit for Posting button until you have a good file. So you can see we have 5 records, 4 of them are valid, 1 of them was void, everything's good. So we are good to go to post this file. But I just remembered on my end that there may be a person that I just remembered that they have 10 days and I only gave them 6. So at this point, before I post the file, you can do just about anything in this file before you post it. But after you post it, then you have to go back and do an adjustment to get those days and hours in for that person. So I remembered I had somebody that I want to put some days in for. So that person is now valid. Well, I only have 4 valid people, so it would be pretty easy for me to find that person just by clicking on valid and clicking next until I found them. But you may have 1,500 people in this file. So an easy way to find that one person that's valid that you need to correct would be to come down here under contribution information. You have a place to put in a Social Security number. So I'm going to put in the Social Security number of 281010012. And if I obviously was off track there, so I'm going to try this again. Okay, there's the social. And in order to find that person, because they're valid, there was nothing wrong with them because they did get days and hours, I'm going to change this from review status to valid because that person's okay. And then click filter. And it's going to bring up the one person that I want to see out of this file that I need to make a correction to. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the record for Donald Duck. And I gave him 6 days. I really wanted him to have 10 days. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 10 days. The hours were okay. So now I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to click my Previous button again because you always have to click the Previous to go back to the prior screen. Okay, everything is good now. My file is ready to be submitted for posting. My amount that I need to pay is in the middle here because every time you update somebody, if I voided somebody out or if I add somebody in, it's automatically going to update the amount of my file. And one other thing, before you post your file, if you find that you forgot to put somebody into this file before you post it, you can add them in by clicking New. Okay, so everything is good to go with our file here, so I'm going to go ahead and submit that file for posting. So right now, you're looking at it going, well, did anything happen? If you look here at your header status, you're going to see it says posting in progress. And another way you can tell is clicking back on contribution file correction and manual contribution entry. And normally our file posted really fast today, and they generally do post within 2 or 3 minutes, depending on what's in ahead of you. Because everyone that posts a file, their file goes into a queue and they're running order. So your file may take a couple minutes sometimes. But this file posted quickly. If it hadn't, it would have been sitting here saying posting in progress. And another way I can tell that my file just posted is down below under posted employer reporting headers. There sits the file that I just posted with a pay date of 3/2 of 18. And here's the posted date, which is today's date. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go into, just real quick before we go into adjustments, I'm going to show you how to do an adjustment for someone after the file's been posted. Nikki, do we have any questions that we need to look at right now on this part that we just went through?
I don't know that Katie's actually been manning them and answering them through the
As we
question
go.
panel.
That's a good thing. Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Just keep in mind at the end we'll be answering all your questions too, if you have any. But we're going to go in and do an adjustment for someone now. And this can be done at any time. So, let's say next week, you get that timesheet and you realize that someone didn't get turned in on this report. We can do an adjustment to add that person. It'll have to be a manual, but we can add somebody into a file. We can adjust somebody. So today's scenario is that I have a person that I overpaid by $10 on this past file that I just submitted. So in order to do an adjustment for somebody, you'll need to be in contribution file correction or manual contribution entry. And then we'll need to go under the create new employer reporting header and then click on create new. Now I'm showing you how to do a manual adjustment. Some of you may be working through a software that will automatically do this adjustment for you on your next payroll. But if you need to get your payment to be correct, and which we'll go over here in a little bit, then we need to go ahead and do that adjustment. Okay, so in order to do this, we have to fill in our header information. It shows us that this is going to be a manual file. And now we need to choose the contribution cycle code that we want to use for this adjustment. I only have one sitting here. If you report multiple files, you may have 3 or 4 contribution cycle codes sitting here. So we're going to choose the one that we want, which in my case is the biweekly one, and then the payment date. Now, the payment date, even if you're doing an adjustment for someone from last month, you still want to use a current reporting date. And the reason for that is our system does not understand that you are reporting an adjustment at this time. So if you put in an old pay date there, our system's going to look at that and say they are reporting a report late. So, and it may send you a, one of those errors that says, well, one of those I lost my train of thought there. A notification that you are in penalty status when you actually aren't. So we're always going to use a current reporting date. So once I have those two items in, that's really all I need. And then I'm going to click Save, and that's going to save my header. But one more thing, if you were one of those districts that's doing an adjustment for one of your contractors, then here is where you would tie this adjustment to that contractor. But that's not the case here. We're just doing one for our district, so I'm going to click Save. Now that's going to save our header. Now, in order to get our person put in, we're going to click New under the Contribution Information section. That's going to bring us up with a blank screen where we're going to go ahead and enter in all the information for the person that we want to do the adjustment for. So I'm going to go ahead and get that put in. Okay, and you always want to use the period begin date and end date that you want to take this money away from or put it into. So in this case, I am taking the money away from the period of and the end date. Okay, and the earnings code is going to be, and this is going to be a 51 because this contribution was reported as a regular contribution, so I'm doing an adjustment to a regular contribution. Okay, and I did not have any service days or hours that I wanted to take away. And so in the pre-tax contribution, since I am going to be taking away $10 from this person, I need to use the minus sign. So I'm going to minus $10, and then I need to minus the appropriate earnings for that contribution, which would be minus $100. And this stuff here is nothing you need to worry about. All we need is this basic information here. Just one more thing I'm going to throw out there, because here lately, a lot of districts have had to go out and just adjust some service time only. Maybe you need to add some days and hours to someone that did not get them on a prior report. You can add just days and hours only with no money and hit save, and it will put that service credit into that person's account. But today we're actually doing money. So we've got the $10 for minusing. Everything looks good. I'm going to click Save. If you had one or more people, let's say you had 3 or 4 people that you had to do adjustments for, you would hit Save and New until you got done with the last person, and then you would click Save. Okay, now I have a warning, and this is pretty much normal. You're going to get this warning most of the time. This is saying that there's another transaction exists for this, and this is the contribution file that we just put through, and we're now doing an adjustment to it. So the original contribution has not been paid for yet, so it's not officially in that person's account yet. So this is a warning that you're going to normally get. If you get this, just go up and suppress the warning, click Save, and everything is going to be good with this. You're going to see that it's a valid record. The warning does not go away. So when we post this, it's going to say posted with warnings, and that's not a problem for that to happen. It's not affecting anything on your end there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click, I already clicked Save, so now I need to click Previous. Okay, here's our file that we just submitted, and it tells me here in the middle that it's for a minus of $10, and I'm going to go ahead and submit this for posting. Okay, so if I click back on contribution file correction or that previous button, either way, that file has already posted. Now, we're going to go into a couple other things before we pay for this file, but once a file posts, and we have a little slogan here at the office, we use report, post, pay in that order. So you report your file, you get your file to post, and then it's ready for you to pay for it in the payment remittance section, which we will go over shortly. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and click previous here. And what I want to do now is show you payroll schedules. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to click on payroll schedule entry. Now, there may be those few times where you have a special pay that you need to pay that will not work within one of your regular contribution cycle codes that you already have established. If that ever happens, then you'll need to go and create a new OTH schedule in order to get that person into the system. Or let's say, for instance, you have a group of employees that would not work in a regular schedule that were paid on a different pay date from that regular schedule. Then you would create an OTH, which we're going to do now. This is how you're going to pretend you don't see these because these are all test files here. So let's say we have to create a new one. So we would click on New, and then in the payroll schedule information up there, I am going to click on, sorry, I'm getting my paper over here. So the payroll schedule end date for this employee that I've got to pay is going to be on 3/5/2018. The payroll schedule end date will be 3/10/2018. And the pay date for this is going to be 3/10/2018. The frequency of this is going to be an OTH schedule. And then I want one row. Okay, so now I have this set up the way I need it. I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to click Populate. It's going to put that one row down there for me with the pay period of 3/5 through 3/10, and for some reason it kicks out the pay date, and this happens all the time. We have to put that back in, so you're going to put the pay date back in as 3/10/2018, and then we're going to click Save and Confirm and Submit. Now, I'm going to give you another scenario here where you may need to use an OTH schedule. Some districts use an OTH as their regular file. You know, they don't have they're not a biweekly, and they're not a true semi-monthly, which means they pay on like the 15th and the end of the month every month, and it never changes. So an OTH schedule is one that you can create it the way you need it to be. So that, as I said, that can also be used as a regular schedule for you. So I am going to go out back to payroll schedule entry, and let's say that down the road a ways, I have another schedule, another special pay that I need to pay. I can open up that schedule that I just created earlier, and I can continue using this same schedule forever as long as my dates don't cross over. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have another pay, and it is for 3/9 through 3/17. Well, I will not be able to use this schedule for that because I've already used 3/9 within this period here, so it will not let me do that. So in that case, that would be one of the incidences where you would have to create another OTH schedule for that next period. Here, I do have, I can use this because I have another period that I need to do a spatial pay for, and it is going to be with a pay date of 3/21. So what I'm going to do here, this payroll schedule end date, I'm going to take that out to 3/21, 2000. Actually, let's just show you something else here. This is just how long you can use this schedule for, is what this is. It doesn't have to be the date that you're going to pay on. So I'm going to take this all the way out through 12/31, 2018. I'm going to click Save. Now, each time I go into this to do another pay, a spatial pay, or any kind of pay that won't fit into a regular schedule, I don't have to go do anything with this date because this is how long I can use this. All I need to do is just add a row and fill in the pay period that I want to use. Okay, and as you see, this one I want to pay it for a day period there. 3/20, 3/21, paid on 3/21. And I've had this just recently, actually, a district wanted to pay on a certain date, so I'll use this 3/20 as an example. They wanted the begin date to be 3/20, the end date to be 3/20, and the pay date to be 3/20. We cannot use the same date as the period begin date and end date as of right now. In the future, that may be changed. But right now, there has to be at least 1 day's period difference between them. So this is the period that I wish to pay. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And then I'm going to confirm and submit. So now that makes that good again. And as I said, any periods going forward, I do have a couple districts that pay their supplementals. They don't want to pay them in their regular schedule because they're paid on different dates. So they'll go ahead maybe 3 or 4 times a year. They'll use this schedule to go ahead and pay their supplementals with. So I am going to click Previous, and this something else I wanted to show you. Let's say that your biweekly that you use all the time on a regular basis is getting ready to get to its end. I'm going to click on that and show you what I mean here. So if I scroll down a little bit, the last time that I'm able to use this biweekly schedule, and we've had a lot of these here just recently, was 12/15 of 2018 through 12/28 2018, paid on 1/4. Okay, so I need to extend this schedule instead of creating a new one so that I can, I'm not able, there we go. Okay, so in order to extend this schedule out for another year, and you can keep doing this if you're not going to change, if you're going to be a biweekly schedule indefinitely and nothing's changing, then you extend the same schedule every year. And what you would do, and I've already did this earlier, I went ahead and put in a new date of 12/31/2020, and you can extend your schedule out up to 13 months from the date that you're on. So today we're on 7/14, so I could go ahead and extend this schedule out 13 months. But I'm going to extend it out through 12/31. So I need to click Save for that, which I've already have done. And no, I don't want to do that. Trying to minimize something that I have over here at the side that's blocking my view here. I'm not sure quite how to do that. I apologize for the delay here. I'm just, I've got a block over here that I'm not sure how to get minimized.
Talking about the panel for go-to,
Yeah,
Marilyn?
yes,
The
I
red
am. How do
arrow,
I get the what? I'm
red arrow,
sorry.
the
The
red
red arrow.
arrow.
Thank you.
No
So,
problem.
as I said, by the time I get ready to do my fourth or fifth one of these, I'll be a pro at it. But today is the first one, so there may be just a couple little snags there, and that was one of them. So now I can go ahead and stroll up and see my full screen. I've already put in the payroll schedule end date. I've clicked Save on it already, so all I need to do now is click Populate. So now if you scroll down below that last period I have all my new dates in there. It starts with the 12/29 through 1/11, paid on 1/18. All your pay periods should be perfectly fine. They're on a 2-week basis, therefore biweekly. Your pay dates, though, may be different, and you can change your pay date to whatever you need it to be. So, like on, let's say 2/1, I actually am not going to pay on 2/1. I'm going to pay on 2/2 this time. I can go ahead and change my pay date. And then when I'm done checking my other dates to make sure none of them need changed, I'm just going to scroll up and click Save. And now that will save that date in there for me. So now everything's looking good to me. I'm going to go ahead and click on Confirm and Submit. So now this schedule is a good schedule for me to use until 12/31 of 2020. And at that time, I'll just go in and extend this out for another year. Now, if any time, now that you've confirmed and submitted this, you cannot do anything else with this schedule, but we can on our end. So let's say you're looking in your schedule and you're going on to page 2 and you see that this 8/16 should have actually been 8/15 and you missed that. Then all you need to do is contact one of us at the office here and we can go in and make that correction for you and you'll be good to go. So we can do a lot of things with your schedule that you can't do. So you don't have to go out and create something new or anything. Just give us a call and we'll work with it for you. Okay. And so now that we've went through these pay schedules, and if you have questions, Katie can answer those for you, or you can wait till the end and I can go back in and show you some different things with these if you have a question. Now we're going to go to our bank account maintenance. And this is very nice. What we're going to do today is we are going to set up a bank to do ACH debits with. A lot of you already use ACH debit or other EFT. and this is really nice. But to do an ACH debit, it's not. It's fast. It's safe. You don't have to worry about your checks getting lost in the mail. It's really a good feature, and it's very easy to do. So let's say your bank is not here, um, and you want to add your bank. So we're going to click on New Bank, and then all you're going to do is put in your routing number, and then put in your account number. Okay, the effective date is going to be today's date. And then one other thing I'm going to have you put in is a nickname. And you're going to put this in mainly if you have multiple ACH payments that you're going to make. You can have the same bank, Huntington National Bank or U.S. Bank, but you need to have that under two different account numbers, or you're going to pay maybe your payroll out of one, and maybe you have something else to us. The board part, if you pay that, maybe you want to pay that out of a different account. So when you go to do a payment, it's just going to pop up Huntington National Bank. But if you have a nickname in there, then it's going to show you which account is linked to payroll and which account is linked to maybe board share. Okay, then we need to do the account type, which is checking. And then we're going to put in a draw limit. Draw limit is pretty much normally going to be just maybe 2,000 or 3,000 more than what your regular payroll is to us every pay. And that way you'll be covered for that pay. Draw limit can be changed at any time. So let's say you're making all your regular payments, they're under 25,000, you're good to go. And then that one time a year where you need to go in and pay maybe a statement balance, or maybe you have a surcharge amount that you need to pay that's going to be more than that, you can come into this and change that draw limit. And you can change that as often as you need because this is your account, you control it. If you have to pay all your surcharges, an example, if you have to pay a surcharge and you have to increase your draw limit, let's say to 45,000, once that payment has cleared for your surcharge, then you can go back in and lower this back down to the 25,000 or the 5,000, whatever you had it set at. You always have to read all these lovely terms and conditions down below and check mark that you have read them. So once that's done, then we're going to click Save. Just one more thing, you don't ever put an end date in here until you do not want to use this account any longer. Then you'll put an end date in. So we'll go click Save. And they've all been changed successfully. So I'm going to click Previous to see my prior screen. And the account that you just entered into the system now shows you that you've got payroll with the nickname for it, shows you your account number, and it has a Y here, which means it's now ACH activated, and today's date. So you're good to go and pay all your future payments to us through your ACH debit. Okay, so now that we have our bank account information in, oh, just one more quick thing. Once you start making payments through your bank account, you're going to have a payment history down here, and you're going to be able to see every payment that you've made through that. And one other thing, too, I don't have anything listed down here under payment history, but if you normally send in checks to us now for your payments, you're going to see those sitting down here. That doesn't mean that you're connected to anything. Nobody's taking any information. It just shows how your payment history is coming in by checks, and that through that bank account is how they're coming in. Okay, so now we're going to scroll up a little bit. No, actually, we're going to scroll down. Sorry about that. We're now going to go pay for that file that we just submitted a little bit ago. So remember I told you report, post, pay. So now we're ready to pay for our file. So we're going to go to actually payment remittance. Sorry about that. So we're going to click on payment remittance, and then we're going to click on new payment remittance. Okay, so down here under unpaid liabilities, we see our employee file that we just submitted a little bit ago. And we're looking at the file, and it says liability amount is $1,030. The remaining balance is $1,030. And you're looking at your paperwork on your side, you're saying, well, I only show I owe you $1,020. And that would be because of that adjustment that we done just a little bit ago. Remember we took $10 away from someone? So anytime you take money away, do a subtraction, that's going to give you a credit memo. And so what you need to do is use the credit memo against the file to reduce it down to what you actually owe. So to use a credit memo, we're going to go under Employee Credit Memos. In the credit memo amount to use, I'm going to type in there $10. We don't have to use any minus signs because the system already knows that that's a credit. So now that I've put my $10 in there, I need to go under Unpaid Liabilities and put a check mark in the box beside the employee contribution file that I wish to pay. So I'm going to check mark in and click Add Selected to Pay. Now that's going to drop it off to the very bottom here under Liabilities to Pay. It's going to show me my full remaining balance, but in the payment amount, all I want to do is type in there $10. Because all I want to do right now is just show this credit against the balance. Now that I have put that $10 in there, I'm going to click Next. And it's going to show me that I have a $10 selected. I have a $10 credit. So all I'm going to do now is finish and submit. Okay, there's my $10 and it's processed. Now this is your money, so it doesn't sit out there as pending or anything else because you've already used it. It was your money sitting there. So now we're going to go back into new payment remittance again. And we'd like for you now to also use your employer credit memos at the same time because that way it keeps everything nice and clean, especially when it comes time for your statements to go out. Everything looks nice and clean that way. So in order to use our employer credit memo, we're going to type in there the $14. Go down and put a check mark in the box beside our employee contribution file. And then scroll down a little bit. Oh, I forgot to hit the Add Selected to Pay. So if you ever do that and you don't see your file sitting down there, that's why. So we have to click Add Selected to Pay before we're going to see it under the Liabilities to Pay. So here I'm going to type in my $14. Going to click Next. Now see, if I had created this system, which I didn't, the next button would be down there where I need it instead of having to scroll up. But I didn't create it, so we have to scroll in this case. So we're going to click Next. Everything looks good. We're going to finish and submit. Now we have used both of our credits. So now when I go back to new payment remittance, and I'm going to look at my employee contribution file that I want to pay, where the original liability amount was $1,030. But since we used that $10 credit, the remaining balance is $1,020 now, which should match what you owe us. So now we're ready to pay for this file. So we're going to go ahead and put a check mark in the box beside the file that we wish to pay. We're going to click Add Selected to Pay. And that's going to drop it off here to the bottom. Now, just real quick here, if you ever think that you have to pay an expected liability, then you're going to call us first, and we will let you know if you do or not. That's rarely used. You do not, just don't use that expected liability, because when your file posts, it creates that liability for you to pay. So since our liability was sitting there, now we have a remaining balance of $1,020. That's what we wish to pay. And click Next. Now, this screen here, we need to let the system know how we're going to pay for this file. So we're going to, from the drop down, we're going to choose ACH debit, checks, or other EFT. The ACH debit is what we're going to use today because we have our bank account set up already. This is fast and easy, and that's what we want to do. But you can pay by checks. You just put in, when you choose to pay that away, you're going to put in check numbers, amounts, and then you're going to put your checks in the mail and mail them to us and hope that they get to us on time, which most people that do mail by checks don't have any problem, but always keep in mind that you're mailing checks around holidays. There's always that possibility that they could get lost in the mail. Other EFT is pretty much the same thing as an ACH debit. There's just an extra step involved in that. You are reporting other EFT, and then you have to call your bank and tell them to wire eSERS a certain amount of money. So there's just an extra step there. So today we're choosing our ACH debit. And now we have to click Add New Payment to let the system know that's what we wish to do. So now we have ACH debit. We choose the bank account that we want that to come out of. In this case, we want it to be payroll. And then we type in the amount of our payment. And if you don't remember what that was, it's always going to be listed here at the top for you. So we wish to pay $1,020. And the payment date automatically defaults to the next business day. So if you're paying by ACH debit, it's fast, it's easy, but you do not want to wait until the day that it's due to make the payment because, as I said, it defaults to the next business day. So now that we are doing that, we're going to go ahead and click Next. And there's our employee contributions of $1,020. We're paying $1,020 here, and here's the payment amount. Everything matches up. And here is not where you want to do a print screen. And that's because you do not have a remittance ID number yet. If you do a print screen from this screen, and then something happens and you get a phone call or you have to walk away from your desk real quick and then come back, your screen may time out and you'll think, well, I did that payment, I saw the screen, but then it's not officially done until you hit that Finish and Submit button. Once you hit the Finish and Submit, then you're going to see your payment of $1,020 with a remittance ID number, which proves that you made this payment, and it's pending. A couple things here I want to talk about on this screen is that it's pending right now. So at any time before it's processed, you can go in and delete this payment if you made a mistake somewhere. You can make a correction to this payment. anything while it's still pending can be done to it. Now, a couple other things too. I'm just going to throw this out. Let's say, for instance, excuse me, that you had paid by checks. Okay, so your check payment will be pending. Well, you have, I haven't mentioned this part yet, but most of you probably already know. Some of the newer people may not. You have 5 business days from your pay date to get your report posted and paid for. After that 5th business day, uh, then our system's going to see that as either a late report or a late payment, and you may get the penalty notice that you are in penalty status. So if you ever go out on that 5th business day and see that your check payment is still pending, you may want to give us a call here at the office and ask for an extension because maybe your check's gotten lost. We're not out to penalize anybody. We don't want to see you get penalized. So you can always ask for an extension, and we will give you some extra time for your payment or reporting or anything to get into us. Okay, so this is now pending. This here is all the payments under payment remittance history. This is all the payments that you've made to us. They can go back a couple years. Anytime that you ever want to see any of these payments, maybe an auditor wants to see this payment that was made right here, all you have to do is open up that with the remittance ID number. It's going to show you what you paid and everything right here. And down here it's going to show you how you paid it on and what payment date that you paid it on. And those screens can always be printed because you have that remittance ID number. Anything that you see, and I don't have any sitting here, but if you see something sitting here that says batch payment or batch, that means that that is your employer charges, and they are being paid through the foundation. So you do not have to worry about making your employer charges. Okay, and if I'm going to move right on into our last session here, which is going to be wage certifications. And then, as I said, once we're all said and done, we'll be able to answer any and all your questions. If I need to go back to prior screens to be able to do that, more than happy to help do that for you. So we're going to scroll up and we're going to click on wage certifications. And anytime you get a wage certification, you're going to get a notification on that you have a wage certification to do. So when you get that notification, that just means that a retirement application or a refund application, some kind of application has been submitted to eSERS, and as soon as that is keyed into our side, then you're going to get that certification to do. So clicking on wage certifications, I have a few here. I just want to throw out before we go do our certification that if you have a certification for someone to do, let's say 7-1, and we'll just use 2000, I'm going to make up a date here of 9/1 of 2021. Let's say you have a certification for September. You're going to wait until all the pays have came in, and then you're going to go out and do that certification. You can't go out and do it early unless it's maybe a stretch pay over the summer. You know exactly what every pay is going to be, and then you can go ahead and do that certification early. But if you don't know that, then you're going to wait and do that. It'll just sit there. It's not going to hold up the retiree's benefit any by you not doing it. but you're going to wait to do the certification. And the same thing for a disability certification. Going down the road, if you have a disability there sitting there, but you're going to be, maybe this person is going on a disability retirement, but they're going to go ahead and use a lot of sick time or vacation time that they have built up. So as long as they're using that time, they're actually getting full pay for that. So you're not going to complete the certification until they're done using that time. And then once you do the certification, then their disability is going to kick in and take over and start making their monthly payments to them. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, and the most common ones that you're going to have are going to be a service retirement and a refund certification. And just real quick, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but out on our website, we have a certification webinar out there under our training webinars that you can go watch if you want to learn a little bit more about the certifications and different ones. But today we're going to go ahead and do a service retirement one for Lightning McQueen. Okay, and we're going to go ahead, and anytime that you get that certification, it's going to want the last date of service. So the last date that that person worked would be, in our case, is going to be 12/31/2017. Okay, the amount of days that they worked within that year. So this could be different. If they were a July 1 retiree of this year, it would be asking for the amount of days from 2019 through through June 30th of this year. If they're going to be retiring going forward here, maybe September, October, then that date is going to change to the current year, and you're just going to be putting the number of days in that they worked from 7/1 of 2020 through September when they're retiring. So the amount of days that this person worked is going to be 88. The last contribution cycle code that this member came in on. Now, I have a ton here because this is training, but you're just going to pick the contribution cycle code that you report under that they would have been in. So in my case, it's SMO3. The last time they were paid, and that would be out for any vacation time or anything, would be, in my case, I paid them out on January 5th, 2018. Now, if any of this time here on their last pay date included a balance of contract or a payroll lag or longevity pay, then you would check mark 1 or 2, whichever ones are appropriate for that. I don't have any in this case, so eligible for health care is important. So from the drop down, if the member was eligible for health care when they were working at the last, pay that they were getting paid there, if they were eligible for health care, whether they were taking it or not, they could have been under their spouse's health care. It's just if they were eligible for it, then you would click yes. But let's say, for instance, this person went down to part-time the last year of their employment, and you did not offer health care for part-time, then you would click no. And when you choose no, then we don't want that person that's worked for 30 years to lose and have to pay more for their health care because they weren't eligible that last year. So we get another question pops up. Eligible for health care 3 out of the last 5 years. And if they were, then you would mark yes there. And so today I'm just going to mark yes that they were eligible for health care. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and submit this because I have all my information filled out here. I'm going to go ahead and submit this for posting now so it can get done. Okay, as you see, I'm getting an error message here at the top. And a lot of people get this, and they'll call in and they're not sure why they've got it. So we walk through it very easily. And don't ever hesitate to call us if you need to. But I'm getting partial pay period certification cannot be saved. All my information is correct here, but if you ever have a line down here, it looks like our system may be thinking there's an extra pay that needs to come in for this person. If you don't have anything to fill out down here, you're just going to put a check mark in the box beside that and remove it. So once that's removed, now when I click submit, it's going to take it with no problems. Now, earlier I had mentioned to you that you may have a certification to do, maybe, let's say Lightning, his last date of service was in 12/31 of 2000, we'll go current here, 19, and you're going to be paying him for some stretch pay through, let's say, June of 2021 or whatever, or 20. So we don't know about some of those pays. That's when you would have to fill out some extra lines down here letting us know. So anything that you fill out as the last date of pay that we do not already have in the office here, then that's where you need to let us know about those pays. And you can add a row or a couple rows, put in the last contribution cycle code, the pay date that they're going to be coming in on, and the contribution that they're going to be receiving. Now, as I said earlier, and I know I've said it a couple times, and I apologize for repeating myself here, but you don't want to fill this out unless you definitely know what each of those pays are going to be. If there's any chance those could change, then you're just going to want to wait to do this certification. But I don't have anything else that I need to put in here, so I'm going to remove these rows. And then when I click submit, it's going to take it just fine. I'm going to click previous. Now, Lightning McQueen is now sitting down under the wage certification submitted already. So let's say, for instance, something did change, and this happens. Maybe you didn't realize that something was going to change, and you thought, okay, this is a definite, I can go ahead and do this. And then you realize Lightning comes in with an extra timesheet or something that he didn't get paid for. So in that case, what you could do is open up this certification for Lightning and then scroll down a little bit, and there's a notes section. So you could say new and put in a note that this is incorrect. Last pay, because I can't even spell today. Last pay should be whatever amount that you want to put there. Now, no one is going to be, don't put there, please call me, because they're not going to see this note until they open up this record for Lightning McQueen and start to work on it. Once they start to work this, then they're going to see any notes that you put into the system. So, see, there's your note that you put in. And something else that I did fail to mention earlier, and I knew I was going to forget to say things as we went, but anytime you're doing a certification, we do have these instructions down here and help issues. This explains how to fill out each one of those lines above when you're doing a certification. And so if you ever have any questions, you can always look at those. And as I said, if you're doing a certification and you're not exactly sure you're doing it right or what a date would be, that's where you're going to pick up the phone, call one of us, and we're just going to walk through it with you and get it done. So we're here. We're always here to help you, so don't ever hesitate to call. So now I'm going to click Previous, and we're going to do the refund certification for Tomater. Now, the refund has a lot less fields to fill out. And so for this one, all we need for a refund is their last date of service that they worked, the last contribution cycle code that they're going to come in on, and the last pay date that they're coming in on. And once you have those 3 items filled out, you're just going to submit the refund, and it's going to hit Previous, and then you're going to see that both of them are now sitting down below under submitted wage certification. So they'll be done. And something else I want to mention. It's also in our certification webinar if you have time or want to listen to that. But anytime that you have just any certification that you're not like the disability, and you want to just wait on that to do it. Any of them that you are not sure about what maybe the disability there, you're not going to get this disability certification to do until it's been approved. So that means that their disability application has been approved, and that's why you're getting the cert. But you and the member are also going to get a letter from eSERS on this. So you're going to get the certification before you get the letter, most generally. So you'll have in that letter, you'll be able to see what the disability date would actually be. And another one that you may get that we don't have listed on here would be a transfer. And I've had this a couple times also. For a transfer certification, you're going to see that and you're going to say, well, this member's still working for us. A transfer just means that they have enough time in. Maybe they're going to be retiring through state teachers or PERS. So what you're doing here is you're going to certify what their last date of service with you is up until their retirement date. After that date, then that is going to make them a reemployed retiree with you, and you're going to have to redo a new membership record just like you would for anybody else. So that reemployed retiree money is going to come in, and that's going to go into a separate account that's going into an annuity account after that point. And if you ever need help with the dates or anything on that, just let us know. That completes my eSERS training for today. I'm more than happy between Katie and I to answer any questions that you may have.
The most popular question we got were how to find the fact sheets.
Okay, let me show you that. So you're going to go out to our website. And when you get to that website, which is right here, you are going to click on Employers. And then you're going to stroll down a little bit to Forms and Publications. When you click on Forms and Publications, that's going to bring up all kinds of stuff that you can look at. We have our employer guides. I'm just going to run through a few of these. Employer guides, that's our eSERS guidebook. And we have how-to on earnings codes. That's the one where earlier I was showing you those different earnings codes that that's what drives a contribution coming through to us. That's a sheet that shows you those earnings codes, what they do, and when you would use them. And then we also have other how-tos on how to create, how to apply credit memos, like I showed you earlier, how to extend a payroll schedule, how to submit a zero file, which is not something you would normally need to do, but that would be something that your contractors may need to do over the summer months. So we have different how-tos. This one here is one of our newer ones that was just created. It's a how-to on how to resolve common contribution file errors. Here's our employer forms. Anytime that you would need a particular form that we have, and some of you that may have, let's say, you're going to get a new web administrator. The web admin is the person that enters in all the new employees there and gives them their roles that they can do in eSERS. Here at the office, we are the ones that set up the web admin. The web admin sets up everybody else. So if you're ever going to change your web admin, that's the form that you would click on in order to, send in to us to create a new web admin. And as I told you about a moment ago, the employer fact sheets, these are really, really helpful because we have fact sheets on surcharge. Maybe you're not exactly sure what surcharge is and how it's calculated. There's a surcharge fact sheet. There's one for a pickup plan. If your district is going to be adopting some kind of new pickup going forward, you would have to have a new pickup plan. The compensation one, which I was speaking of earlier, if you click on that, it shows you the compensation.
Well, thanks, Marilyn and Katie, and thanks to everyone for joining us for our first eSERS training webinar today.